God, it's like the little things that always go wrong. And now
Of
this is the
course.
opening of the episode, I guess.
Yay!
Hello, welcome to another
So,
episode of TV Hangouts. Yeah, what's up? Uh,
professional and professional, you know?
exactly. It's our mantra. We're living by it. It's our theme.
Sticking to it.
Yeah. You know what else has themes? TV shows, because that's what we
Yeah.
talk about here on TV Hangouts. There's a new TV show in town, but first, let's get right into it. I am your host, Diego Crespo. With me today is Emily Sophia. How are you doing today?
I am doing it delightfully. And how about yourself?
I am doing great. I feel refreshed and rejuvenated. And then the Flash goes and breaks my heart for being dumb in the season finale.
Oh no, not dumbness.
Oh, I have things to say. But first, there is a new show that we are going to talk about, except not me this week because I haven't seen it yet. Preacher, AMC's upcoming probably hit series based off a comic book adapted by Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg. Emily, you watched the pilot episode. What did you
Yes, I
think?
did. You know, I was quite impressed. I went into this episode having no idea of what to expect, and generally I kind of flew under the radar of all the reviews because there was a period in time where people were just getting really militant and angry about the entire concept of the show's existence, and so I just kind of hung back. I was a little scared about it because I was like, "Ugh, I don't want to get caught up in the stupid fan hype and the anti-hype." And then there's me, kind of in the middle, thinking, hey, this looks like a neat show. I'll try it out. And I would definitely say that the pilot is well worth your time. It is a very bombastic, very crazy first episode, as one would well imagine. Um, and it pretty much centers on three main characters, each of whom we get to meet in their own circumstances. And the thing about this premiere is that there's not much in the way of exposition at all. You're just kind of tossed right into the fray, and you're sort of trying to figure things out as characters are, and they don't even know a ton of things that are going on yet because there's this like enormous, crazy, supernatural force that is like making its way around the world. So you're kind of hopping from Africa to Russia to Kansas to Texas, but it's not like the pace isn't too dizzying. You know, like the premiere gives you just enough to sink your teeth into. You get to meet Jesse Custer, who is the preacher. He's not a good preacher. He wants to be a good preacher, but he is who he is, and he has a very violent past that kind of starts to bleed into the present. And his ex-lover, Tulip, is running around the United States picking up dirty jobs and wants Jesse to join her in her exploits. And then there's a vampire named Cassidy who falls to the earth and ends up in the little small town in Texas where the preacher resides and is trying to lead his congregation towards the light of something. And it's a very fun, very hectic and fevered setup. Um, and there's quite a few very stylish action montages as well that were kind of reminiscent of scenes from Kingsman, actually, if I had
Ooh.
to make a cinematic comparison. Now, I would say, of course, that, like, you know, the church scene in Kingsman is on a grander scale, but there are still, I think that the style of the fight sequences are very much inspired by that, you know. So the violence is very gruesome, but it's so stylized that it's almost palatable, I think. Like there are certain things that made me kind of like, oh, that's pretty off-putting, but all in all, I really enjoyed it. It's a great ride, and it looks like the show is gonna take its time getting into the story, and getting all the characters up to speed on what is happening to the world and to themselves and each other. And it's a very wild place, but I really like the premiere. So that's kind of, I'm going to keep my thoughts there. I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, it's a good time. I had a good time.
I cannot wait to watch it because I didn't really like the comic, the first volume that I read. I thought it had interesting stuff happening in it, but I thought it was a little too ugly. I don't know. I bet if I read the rest of it, I'll get into it more. Like if I see the bigger picture. But like at the start, I was like, this I don't want to read this right now. Like it was just one of those things. I wasn't in the mood for that. So maybe I'll pick it up again, and then I'm definitely gonna watch the show, and we'll both be able to have something to say next week. Yeah. But I am glad to hear that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I will say too that like the violence of the show is kind of tempered by like there's a really strong, sincere emotional quality to a lot of the performances that you get. Like the dialogue, it moves very quickly and lively, and it doesn't stay in any one place for too long, but like Dominic Cooper is great. Like I saw a range in him in this episode that I did not expect at all. I mean, having just recently seen him as Tony Stark's dad in Agent Carter and all that good jazz, he does marvelous work in the show so far, as does the actress portraying Tulip. I forget her name. I think it's Ruth something starts with an N, but
Ruth
Negga something. I don't know what it is, but
I know her from Misfits. I don't know if you ever watched Misfits, but she was in it for a little bit.
I know of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
He had only a small part though, but she was good. She was good. So when I heard she was cast, I was like, "Oh, I like her." Oh, Ruth Negga.
Negga, yes, yeah. She is so great. She is so sweet and badass, and I'm really a fan of everybody. So even when there are these moments of complete and utter "what the fuck am I watching," like you get into those performances and where the characters are at, and I think that that's kind of the central focus of the premiere. So it makes it really good in that sense, because you're just kind of invited to be like, to explore these characters and ask yourself, who are these people and what do they want? It's really good. Dominic Cooper is definitely my favorite, though.
Okay, I'm you hyped me up on it more than I was hoping already. So
I do hope you enjoy it.
Okay, well, yeah, but then I'll give my thoughts with that next week as well with the second episode. Or no, they're taking a break, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they are.
That's weird.
That's super weird. Like right from the get-go.
Oh, I guess because Memorial Day weekend, so that's
right. Well, this gives me time to do a review on my channel. I guess I won't feel too behind.
Yeah, everything works out for a reason.
I guess so.
And now I'm going to talk about some quick thoughts on The Flash and Arrow season finales, two shows that I have officially a love-hate relationship on both now, and that breaks my heart because the first season of The Flash is perfect and fantastic and wonderful. And then season 2 of The Flash is all those things until the second half where it starts getting slow. And then it kicks up a notch again. And it delivers back-to-back-to-back episodes that are astounding and incredible. And The Flash fights a giant shark man. And it's great. It's incredible. And then they do some dumb stuff with a villain twist. These are spoiler-free. Mostly for Emily because she still needs to watch them. But then they get into their season finales. I'll talk about The Flash first. They recycled everything they already did in season 1, but they made Barry dumb and aggressive and too moody. People don't like The Flash because he's sad and unhappy. Like if that's his arc for the season, there has to be resolution to it. But instead, the outcome becomes disappointingly worse and undoes 2 seasons worth of development. I guess 1.5 seasons because season 2 kind of just stops developing him halfway through. Even though there are points of the second season that, or at least in the second half of the second season, that are really just superhero programming. Like it's not a full-on bad season. It really helps when 23 episodes of a show can stick the landing instead of just 15 or 14 of them, and then some mediocrity sprinkled in. There's some cool hints at what comes next. Comic book fans know the big one that's clearly teased at the end there. The villain is also clearly going to come back in some shape or form, but I have mixed feelings on it. I wrote up my full thoughts for audienceseverywhere.net, so when those are up, I'm going to share them everywhere, because that has like 1,000 words, and I don't want to spend too much time on a spoiler-free review for this. But I'm pretty disappointed, and that's a huge bummer, because I love this show, and I sincerely hope it goes back to its roots, because there are some really great science fiction concepts with multiverse and parallel universes and time hopping ring wraith ripoffs, and it's the best. When the Flash is so great this season, it is the best show, and then when it's not, oh man, it breaks my heart, because I know how good it can be and how much fun everyone in the show has with it. So, I really hope that they find the joyous, happy, adventure, pulpy heart of the show again, because I think it lost itself towards the end there. It got too ambitious. And that just made me kind of sad. And then Arrow Season 4, coming off of Arrow Season 3, which was just astronomically, unequivocally on par with Season 3 of Heroes bad. I almost dropped the show. If Season 4 would carry that quality, I wouldn't be talking about it right now. I'd just be like, nah, I'm good. But it bounced back, and then sometimes it didn't, but it was never as bad as Season 3. Instead, its worst crimes were picking up the pieces of Season 3 and trying to make everything better, or just being kind of boring every once in a while. But unlike The Flash, which was dumb and frustrating in its finale, Arrow was only dumb and fun in its finale. And I don't mean like dumb, like, oh, it's so stupid, I can't believe. Like, I kind of feel that way, but some of the stuff is so like ridiculous and nonsensical, and the themes don't really tie up anything, but it was fun to watch. And when you get Neil McDonough as a villain on your show, I'm an easy lay. Like, I'm just, yeah, you got me, because that guy. Watch Season 3 of Justified. I watch all of Justified, first of all, but watch what he does in Season 3 of Justified, or his cameo in the series finale of Terriers. It's not a surprise cameo. It's just he has a small part, and this guy can act his ass off. So when I heard he was cast, I was like, oh, okay. Even if Season 3 is bad, at least I got Neil McDonough. And even though Season 4 ain't perfect, Season 2 of Arrow will always be like the high watermark for superhero television, right up there with The Flash and Jessica Jones and Supergirl. But man, he made it fun to watch. And it for sure has their biggest threat ever, I guess, to get into some more magic elements. Like, Arrow is clearly their Batman TV show, even though you can't use Batman.
Yes.
And so if you're using that logic, we had Ra's al Ghul last season, and now we're getting into the more mystical, like creepy underpinning elements. So we had Constantine show up for an episode, which was fantastic. I just wish there was more of an overall theme. From the start of the season, it appeared that Oliver would be finding the light in the darkness. And then at the end of the season, they have this idea that they don't really nail, but I admire their ambition. They're more successful in their failed ambition than Flash was this season.
Sure.
Where Arrow's arc, or the Green Arrow's arc, is trying to straddle this line between the light and the dark. Can he be this shining beacon of hope, or is he going to be stuck in the darkness? And the answer is kind of both, but they don't do enough with it. So I guess we'll have to see how it plays out next season, but this season really won me over again, so I am glad. Both seasons are like a solid B, and given how much I love the first season of The Flash and how much I dislike Season 3 of Arrow, I am like astounded that they're on the same level of quality now. So I don't know. I like TV shows. Those were kind of frustrating watches for me, but I overall enjoyed them. And The Flash fights a giant gorilla and a shark man, and yeah, it's weird. I like it even when it's dumb. But on to the main topic of discussion today, Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Oh boy. oh.
Oh,
This is a rough one. I'll open it up and then you take the floor.
sure.
Season 6, episode 5, The Door. I can't. I got nothing. I mean, it's jaw-droppingly heartbreaking. It hurts just to think about. I can't believe how much I cared for this character. This is what happens when you become attached to a side character so much without even realizing it, and
Right?
then
It's just insidious.
oh,
Like it's inside of you this whole time. And then they just rip your heart right on out.
yeah.
Ugh.
Okay, so this is full spoilers though. Unlike Flash and
Mhm.
Arrow, we see Bran deal with a lot of things. He gets major character progression. Again, the season's so good because it's just everyone's progressing, but it's not rushed. It feels all of the arcs and character motivations feel validated. Uh,
Mhm.
the direction is a lot tighter than last season. I started to feel a little tired, or I felt that people were tired when they were working on the show. Uh, the visuals are more grandiose. The White Walkers are coming into play more instead of just once an episode a season. Um, the character dynamics are shifting so drastically. Tormund and Brienne, I ship it so hard.
Yes, ship it real good.
Well, Tormund's gonna die protecting Brienne, I know it, and she's gonna feel sad about it, and I'm gonna hate it because that's just gonna make me sadder. But I'm calling that right now. I'll let that be known as my prediction. But it will
Yes.
not be as sad as the passing of Hodor. Oh my god, what the fuck? I got
I
nothing.
entered like an instant depression. Like part of the reason why I didn't end up watching the Preacher premiere was because I was like, I can't watch any more TV tonight. Like I straight up could not. I could not physically bring myself. I was like, I don't care about anything right now. This is my world. You understand? Um,
It's just pain. It's so sad, but it's not cheap. And I was initially angry with the show when it happened because at first, for a split second, it felt kind of cheap to me. And
mhm,
then the way they kept playing it, it won me over. And then I understood what they were doing. And ultimately, the one of the recurring themes in Game of Thrones is that, I mean, it's a simple theme, but that war hurts everyone. Like even in a
mhm,
battle between good versus evil, like literally evil incarnate, there are going to be losses, and they're not always going to be justified.
mhm,
But I really love that even though this is the moment where Bran ruins Hodor's life forever, it happens because Hodor goes to save Bran and holds the door for them and
mhm,
sacrifices himself. So it solidifies him as this great heroic figure that no one but Bran will know about. No one but Bran, and I forget
mhm.
the other lady's name.
Mira.
Mira, thank you. Oh, right.
Mhm.
Okay. Mira. He saves Mira and Bran, and oh, yeah, everyone else dies, including Bran's dog, which is also heartbreaking.
Oh, I know.
Also, we should stop killing off Max von Sydow whenever we introduce him into stuff. I'm just saying. He's one of the greatest actors ever, and he just dies and everything now. But whatever. I'm ranting because I'm very sad about Hodor. He's like I was saying, he was solidified as this great heroic figure,
Yeah.
and no one will know about it. But I think that's also it doesn't matter because it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how much you show off. It matters about how good of a person he was,
Mhm.
despite everything that happened to him and him being mentally disabled. And
Yeah.
what a good fucking episode. Like just damn.
Yeah, I've spoken with a lot of people about this episode, and there is kind of a weird consensus that's coming forward with a lot of people saying that this episode was more emotional for them than the Red Wedding episode. And I would actually fully agree with that because I remember long before I even, well, maybe not long before, but before I ever started watching the show, everybody's like, "Oh, get ready for that Red Wedding," and like you're hearing that from the very beginning. And so I had that in my brain. By the time it got to the episode, I was just like dumbstruck. Like I was just a wall because it felt unreal. But this, like, what happened with Hodor just immediately registered with me, and all of a sudden just this realization of like, we have spent 6 seasons with this character, even if we were not immediately with him, but just sort of with his legacy and like with his Hodorness, and we had no idea what the context of that even was. And so it's like, he died a hero and he lived a hero, because like, it's absolutely insane. And to think that I know that I was anticipating that Bran was going to do something to like alter the timeline of history or something, you know, and to see that come to fruition with Hodor and everything was just like, it was monumental and catastrophic, and like instantly, just as soon as in the past, like Hodor dropped to the ground, I was in tears because I was like, no, this can't be. But it's changed everything. It's changed everything, but it was a phenomenal episode, and what a way for a character to go, you know, like, I will never be able to forget this moment in all of my television watching years. This goes down in history for sure.
Yeah. This, again, I just want to reiterate how much I love that the price of heroism in this show. It's ultimately going to be a battle between good and evil. It's just that good's not entirely pure. You know, I bet they're going to have to team up with... I have this theory now that they're going to have to team up with Ramsay to fight the White Walkers. I don't think he's going to die. I think like that's what it's going to come to.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not so much about just straight up good versus evil as the price of being good in this world. And even though, you know, you have your red weddings, you have your shitload of people dying for committing acts of valor and being, you know, just genuinely decent people in this world.
Right.
I think this continues to show that it doesn't matter if you die. What matters is that you've done something good and you give that little chance of hope at the end. Because, you know, those zombies, I mean, as sad as it is, they're just going to tear through Hodor, and then I'm pretty sure the next episode is going to be them continuing the chase scene. And that sucks. But he gave them that little bit of chance, that little bit of hope, and that's really, God, that's such a wonderful beat. And that's not the only thing that happened in this episode. That just was the best thing that happened in this episode. The rest of the stuff I thought was really great too. Jorah reuniting with Dany, and what's his face? I don't know. I always thought they would cast a porn star for this character.
Daria, I think it is.
Dario, yeah. You know, like, but you know what? No, he's sleazier than porn stars, because porn stars, it's just a job, you know. Dario, I like legitimately think they should cast like a weasel for the character when I thought of him in the books. But this guy's okay. But I like that he's the third wheel now. Like, there's obviously no romantic connection between Dany and Jorah, but they've been through so much together that of course she's gonna forgive him eventually, you know? Like, and I freaking love what Leslie Jones was tweeting about their interaction, where she's you know, she's forgiving him, but she can't accept him until he finds the cure. Like, you're gonna come back to me alive and healthy. Like, she's demanding it. I thought that was nice. But Leslie Jones was like, bitch, like, if there wasn't a cure, like, I wouldn't have found it already. Oh my God, I'm gonna link those tweets down below because they're the best. They're just the funniest thing ever. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Like, realistically, I think Jorah's gonna come back okay, like after some magic nonsense. But you know, it'd be funny, like in a deleted scene, they just find Jorah like in season 7, who's just like a stone,
just dead.
Yeah, he's just like a gargoyle. It's like, fuck it.
Oh man.
Yeah, so I like that scene a lot. Sansa and Jon, Tormund, Brienne, Pod. I realize there are a lot of characters moving up there in the north, and usually when Game of Thrones has that many characters teaming up together, they're gonna start trimming the herd. So I am fucking terrified.
It is time to be scared, I think.
Yeah, it's too much good has happened. So now it's
Yeah.
time to start. Well, too much good, and then they killed off Hodor and made the entire world just like cry
Mm.
together. So
Ugh.
yeah, I don't know. A lot happened this episode. Do you have any more thoughts on it? Because it's hard to compose myself, but I really love
Yeah.
this one.
Oh yeah, as did I. I mean, hands down, this is one of my all-time favorite episodes of the show. They took an incredible risk and they went for something huge and stuck the landing, and all these other characters are also moving forward. So it's really great and gratifying to be a Game of Thrones fan right now, I think. Um, I'm guessing that probably next we're going to be spending some more time in King's Landing because they've actually kind of been a little bit sidelined this season, which is understandable because there's so much that's going on in the north right now and a whole nother war that's coming. So like the whole thing that Cersei and Jaime are trying to do, going up against the Faith Militant, it feels like such just like a grain of sand in the sea of the desert, like compared to all this other stuff that's going on. But I do look forward to seeing what's going to happen there. Also interesting that we've now gotten to spend a bit of time on the Iron Islands, but currently Yara and Theon are skipping town because their douchey uncle is now the king and wants to kill them. So that's a new adventure. I had fun talking with my brother, who has read the books, about Euron Greyjoy and his dashing arrival. Yeah, there's so much interesting stuff at play here, and even getting to go to Bravos and see Arya continue her training and like to watch that crazy play reenacting like all the atrocities committed against her family, like while she's in the process of trying to like refute her identity. So it's very interesting stuff. There were even some. Was the play in this past episode or the week before?
No,
Because
it
I
was
might
this
be.
past episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. It just feels so weird because there was like some comedic elements in that, and then, everything ends with Hodor and it's impossible to remember anything else. But this episode had quite a range, and it was pretty much exciting from start to finish, even though I was crying by the end. It felt right, ultimately, everything, even the painful parts. So I am a major fan right now.
Yeah, it
As
feels
much as
good.
I hurt.
Yeah, it hurts, but
It's
it's a
so
good hurt.
good.
Like, what's that
Mm-hmm.
line from like Prisoner of Azkaban? Where it's like you're gonna be sad, but you're gonna be happy about it, or something like that. It's like the same
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
totally.
pretty much what this is. Really quick, really minor notes that I wanted to touch on. Um, do you think Littlefinger was lying about the army that the Blackfish has been um, concocting to invade the North?
Oh man, I was thinking about that and like I can't tell. I can't read Littlefinger. I'm so bad at it. Because like everything that he says just feels like it's laced in this film of ambiguity where like it's almost plausible, but while you're still kind of trying to ferret out what his intentions really are, it's like it could be a total ruse. I have legitimately no clue. But now Sansa is banking on that, so I don't know. I mean, like, what would he gain from lying to Sansa in that situation? Um, Other than I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint him down because I straight up just don't trust him. But he
No,
does like
no, no,
Sansa,
no.
and I don't think I believe him when he says he didn't know what Ramsay would do, but only as far to the extent as I know this is a bad person
Yeah,
because they murdered your family.
right.
But I bet they're not gonna hurt you because you're important. But he didn't think like, oh, duh, they don't have to kill her. They could just,
Yeah.
have the writers misuse Sansa. There you go.
Hmm.
But I, he's a hard nut to crack. But I don't believe that the Blackfish has done anything. I think the
Yeah.
Blackfish is still because in season 3 he was put in prison after the Red Wedding. So
Right.
I mean, he's not a point of view character in the books or the show, so we
Hmm.
haven't seen him do anything, and that's why I don't think he's actually going to be an active character in the series.
Yeah, and the fact that Sansa ended up telling the others about this information, but lying as to its source, like I feel like that's going to end up blowing up in her face, because it would be all too convenient if that really was the case, and out of the goodness in his heart, Littlefinger was trying to, throw her a lifeline, like. I think he's definitely going to construe Sansa's situation in his favor. I mean, even the way that he's acting in the Vale too was super suspicious and weird.
Yeah,
Like nothing is ever sincere or like straightforward with this guy. Because you could tell that he's like playing everybody around him. Like he constantly has this smirk and this look of like, okay then, like you want to do this clearly because I want you to do it. And that's just who he is and what he does. So, God, yeah, I don't know, but I'm starting to think that you're probably right and that there's probably nothing and they're going to be in hot water. But,
yeah. And then one last thing. Um, I was talking to my friend Josh Rosenfield over from Audiences Everywhere and his own Game of Thrones podcast, Stark Contrast. I don't think they have their episode up for this episode yet, but we were talking on Twitter about a theory about Euron Greyjoy. We think
mhm.
he's going to replace another book perspective character from the show, and I will
Oh,
not
okay.
give details for that current character's plotline, but I think it would be a very good move. And Josh also convinced me that Euron is not going to be an endgame villain like he is in the books. Like when he shows up in the
Mhm.
books, this is a scary dude. He has a
Yeah.
crew of silent pirates because their tongues were cut out. And
Ooh.
yeah, he's not he's a Pirates of the Caribbean villain, like
Yeah.
he's a colorful dude.
Davy Jones.
Yeah, him and Davy Jones would be like buddies and be like, yeah, fuck Jack Sparrow. But this, I expected them to get a bigger actor for the part. So when I saw
Mhm.
him, I was like, this guy's fine. Like
Yeah.
he's not bad. I'm not using that to like demean it or anything. Just
Mhm.
doesn't have the big presence I expected. And so when
Yeah.
I mulled that over and talked to Josh, I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, he's probably right. It's probably not going to be Endgame because are
Yeah.
we? Am I allowed to bring up book spoilers, or you want me to
Oh
bypass
yeah,
that?
go for it. I talk about him with my brother all the time.
Okay, because Euron Greyjoy in the books also has a plan to meet up with Daenerys, but if
Yes.
I recall, I haven't read the books in some time.
Mhm.
It is not as nice as marriage. Uh,
Um.
it is actually bad. He wants to fuck up the world, basically.
Ooh.
And yeah, he still has the same mentality about like, yeah, I'll give this world to you guys if you guys back me up as king. And everyone's like, okay.
Yeah.
Um, the only thing is, he also has something called the Dragon Horn.
Oh yeah, my brother had mentioned that.
Yes. I think the official name is like the Dragon Binder or something like that. Like
Uh-huh.
it's been a while, and the horn is huge. It's like the size of a basketball player, you know,
Right.
um, and it can be used to tame dragons. And if I remember correctly, whoever blows the horn dies. But anybody
Ooh.
or any dragons that hear it have to obey no matter what. So yeah, so that was like that's
Well,
some heavy shit. And this guy
yeah, it
doesn't
is.
seem to have that. So that's also
No.
another one where it's like, I guess he's not gonna have as much of a presence.
Yeah, he kind of seems more like a weasel than he does like the ultimate baddie who can do serious harm, you know? Like he just shows up and happens to convince everybody that he's got the means to the ends and he's going to tame the Queen of Dragons and build a fleet of 1,000 ships. And he's, I don't know, it seems like he's whistling Dixie. I guess that we'll see what he's capable of. But yeah, from initial impressions, I would not say that he's an endgame villain, but I don't know. It doesn't seem to come across that way. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, and the show could surprise us. I don't know. Maybe he gets the dragon horn later, or maybe they cut that aspect out of the show entirely. God knows they've cut out plenty, and usually that works out for the better for them. So, that's all I got for this episode. Another great entry in what might turn out to be the best season of the show yet. I like that the book restrictions are completely like hands off now, and there's like, fuck it, let's do everything, but in a good way.
Yeah, it's mighty good. I'm liking it.
Yes. So, Emily, where can the people find you?
You can find me on YouTube at MMightySophia. That's EM, the word mighty, SOFIA. I do Game of Thrones reviews there. I do intend to start watching and reviewing Preacher. There's a lot of shows that are currently in hiatus, but looking to get some more content rolling out in the days to come as I have time. You can also find me at MMightySophia on Facebook and Twitter as well. Twitter being kind of a central hub for my anythings and everythings. So that's where you can find me.
And like always, all the links are down in the doobity-doo. You'll find me on Twitter at Dago Waffles, Waffle Press, audienceseverywhere.net. And I meant to accomplish 31 movies in May, 31 of my favorite movies in May for, you get a lot of angsty negativity with an online movie discussion. I tried to, just submit my positive outlook on some things. That didn't work. So I'm still going to continue my favorite movies roundup. I'm just going to space it out over a longer period of time, like ideally until whenever. But yeah, I'll be doing that on my personal blog, so link down below also to that. Thank you for listening and watching, guys, and we have been professionally unprofessional.